Skiff, we have a conundrum.
Hello, Audra.
Hello.
I promised myself that I'm gonna stop doing introductions because they're useless. But I really feel an introduction with you is necessary because you were the first sign from the universe, or one of the early signs from the universe that something I need to change directions. And we met at an open mic, but you're not officially a comedian, right?
I've kind of taken some steps back from comedy.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say that I will not take some steps forward toward it, but yeah.
I'm just glad that one of those steps happened while we were at the same open mic at the same time so
Yeah.
that we can meet.
Yeah.
And then I will never forget, this is the cornerstone of our relationship, is that you took, I want to say 2 to 3 hours
Yeah.
out of your time to meet with me. And we sat at a coffee shop and talked about my issues. And you didn't even know me.
Yeah.
Which I'm still very grateful for. Like I always feel like a burden for people, and I didn't, like, it almost felt like, oh my God, someone is gonna give you your ear. And it didn't feel like charity. It didn't feel heavy. It really, I felt it from a good place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, first of all, I'm very grateful of how we met. And what is it, 10 years later now or
I
something?
know it's like forever later, but I mean, I'm so happy that was impactful for you in some way. You know,
Yeah.
you never know how you may affect someone. So
And you may never know how you might affect someone by just listening. It's you told me a lot of very useful things, but like back then it would felt like, oh my God, I don't feel like my problems are futile. Someone who's gone through more than I have gone to, who have physical reasons to be more miserable, is showing me, well, I know that's not the way,
Yeah.
but from my perspective, when I was coming, I was like, what are you complaining about? Shut up. This is not like, you have not seen. So let's start with this.
yeah.
This is Audra Bryant,
Yeah.
a friend of mine, no relation to any Bryants, who plays
No.
basketball, I think.
Not that I know of.
Singer, comedian, life coach, author of I've Got Scars, Baby, and I've Got Scars, Baby, the podcast.
Yes.
Hello, Audra. Welcome to my podcast where I interview open micers.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm so happy you are doing this. This is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I do want to say something just about when you said, I think sometimes people, because I have a physical scar, right? I mean, you can't really see it right now, but I'll show the world. Just
35
because-
people on a good day. Really.
It's fine.
Not the world.
Those 55, they're going to see it, okay? So I do want to say, just so you can understand my perspective, even though I have physical scars, I don't think that they're necessarily way heavier on me or have had a greater or deeper impact than someone who doesn't have physical scars. I think sometimes someone with physical scars, they can get the empathy because it's like, whoa, man. But nobody knows how deep somebody's emotional scars are. And you can't tell, so that person may not get the empathy and the compassion they deserve. So I just wanted to say that is, yeah.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. And we're not supposed to compare scars, saying, well, this actually is, if we can see it, and this one is just in your head. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, the problem with non-physical scars is that people treat them as if they are hideously visible to people, and it's like affecting how people see them in a different way. And I think there is part of it is that the lesson is gratitude. The lesson is you kind of learn that you are in a physical good shape, which you would take for granted until you see someone else who, if you were in your shoe, like in your way of thinking, if you were in their shoes, that would be hell for you.
Yeah.
And you're seeing someone who is dealing with it so easily, and not just dealing, I'm sure it's not easy, 100%, but it's not having the hindrance on people who don't have it on you, which is by itself is one of the main reasons I wanted to have you here and have that perspective, because I'm very interested into the transformation from this side to this side. And I know from what you told me before that you had a phase where you felt bad about it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very much so. So my story in a nutshell, I was burned at 18 months old, and I didn't look at myself in the mirror until I was 25.
I'm sorry, how were you burned? Was it by...
So it was coffee. I was a toddler, pulled a cup of coffee off the table onto myself, and it burned my chest and my shoulder and my neck. And so, yeah, I was burned at 18 months, had about 6 surgeries in between, 2 and 16. And I didn't look at myself in the mirror until I was 25.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to see my scars. And so, and it's one of those situations where, and I talk about this in my book, is where I remember actually being, I had surgery and I went into they take you to the room afterward, and there was a little girl next to me, and her whole face was burned. And it's like, so when you talk about kind of comparison, you're like, well, it's not that bad for me. Like, oh my gosh, like, why am I complaining? Why am I saying, and I'm little, like I may have been like 6 years old. I don't even know how old I was. I was very young, but I just saw that, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to complain about. But at the same time, the way I was dealing with my scars, people coming to, little kids, what's that? What's, that kind of a thing. People asking questions, what happened? Da, 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 da. I still had a burden, so to speak, to bear. And I think that's what it is for me, is just like, we have a burden to bear. It doesn't feel good. And what I did to deal with it is I continue to hide myself. So what does that look like? That looks like t-shirts and turtlenecks. I found a picture of myself when I was like maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, maybe 8. Outside, summertime. It was a couple of my friends around me, and everybody else had tank tops on. I have a long sleeve shirt, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you just adapt your life to this hiding thing. And so that's just what I did.
And it goes from, first of all, on the comparison stuff. I drive Uber for a living. And one of those days I had an older lady that came into the car, and she had a neck brace. And like it looked like it was also affecting her back. She sat and we started talking, and we had a very nice conversation. And at a certain point, my curiosity won over my politeness. And I was like, is this a recent injury or a long life injury? And she said, no, it's a long life injury. And I did the same thing with the scar first, like with when we met, of like, oh my God, what I should look at this. And I started expressing some of that, and she was like, no, don't feel bad for me. When I was growing up, I was put in a house, she was saying. I was put in a home for other disabled kids. And she was the queen, because in the entire shelter, she was the only one with all of her 4 limbs. So you immediately, like, I went from, oh my God, I can't believe I was upset about my credit card score, versus your disability. And even when I put myself in the, oh my God, I shouldn't be complaining, she told me, no, don't even do that, because I learned that lesson a long time ago. So, like, there's always someone having it better than you. There's always someone having it better than you, like both sides. And there's no need to compare. Second of all, I want to talk about the scars. Because like you said, there is a lot of scars that is somebody would treat a big belly like a scar. And they would try to cover it the same way. And that was my only remark about that.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where everybody has something. Everybody has something. And the question I had to start, well, let me just tell you the revelation that I had that helped me to move forward. The revelation I had that helped me was that I felt like at 25, I'm like, I always wanted to encourage people, and that's kind of just my jam, I guess. And so at 25, the revelation I had is it felt like it was an epiphany, like God was like, bam. And it was, everybody has scars, some on the outside, some on the inside. That made me feel so much better. It took so much weight off because I thought I was the only one in the world who was, feeling unattractive, who was feeling like, I wish if I didn't have this, I would be okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I got dealt the worst hand ever, and everybody was normal and perfect. And so then it was just like the step further was like, okay, well, I want to help people. Now that I understand that everyone has scars, let me go help people. And it's like, okay, Audra, how are you going to help anybody if you won't even look at yourself in the mirror? Okay.
And was that was that the same moment you started looking at yourself in the mirror, or?
Yeah. When I say those things came back to back, it was the same kind of, it was the day of revelation, I guess. And so that's what started me actually looking in a mirror. Like I had to practice, like it took a while. Like it was like a 6-month type of a thing. Like I would glance at my scar in the mirror, because normally I would just get out of the shower, bypass mirrors, put my, pajamas on.
All of these are rituals.
These rituals to hide myself from myself. But that's why I really feel like I can't be the quote unquote face of the burn survivor community, because I'm not. You would never necessarily know unless I showed you my scars. Like it has to be revealed, right? But that's why I feel like I connect with those who can easily hide their scars because they have internal scars. They've dealt with abuse. They've dealt with neglect. Those types of things. They don't feel confident in themselves. And it's not anything that you can just easily see. Because a big belly, to your point, you can see that, right? And then somebody's just like, well, just go to the gym or just eat different. But a lot of times the big belly is a result of something else. And if I'm talking about something that's not a physical cause, like an actual health thing, sometimes mentally speaking, some people eat to cope, right? And it's like, well, the weight is only a reflection of how they're feeling inside. And sometimes the weight is a protective mechanism. And so we have to get underneath those layers. That's my thing, is helping people to look in their mirror of their life.
And that's why, there is a lot of commonalities. The scars may differ, but how you traumatize yourself as a result of your scar, even if it was supposed or real, it's the same. Like the way you were avoiding to see how you look naked is exactly how people who are afraid of heights would never pass in front of in front of a balcony. And it's almost like the liberating part is that the solution out of whatever scar is almost the same. You have to expose yourself to the thing that scared you.
Yes. We are so hard on ourselves. Let me just say that. Like, we are so hard on ourselves. Let me just tell you, let me start from here. We come into this world, right, as children. We're little babies. Everything is amazing. Everything is beautiful. Everything is funny and cute. And let me touch the bubble. Let me put my finger in a light in the socket. Let me do, you know what I'm saying? Let me put this in my mouth. Let me just explore the world. And there's so much innocence and beauty in a little child just playing, seeing bubbles for the first time. Like, bubbles, oh my God, bubbles are amazing, right? And then we get introduced, like, there's so much love. That's why people love children so much. There's so much love and innocence and purity, right? And then over time, as we get older, we get introduced to various things that are not love. So what does that look like? As you get older, okay, you grow up in this household, okay, nice. And then it could be as simple as the cute little doggy that you want to play with bites you. Or it could be, everything was so nice and wonderful. And then mommy and daddy started being mean to each other. And they're saying bad words to each other. Oh my God, daddy hit mommy or mommy hit daddy. Or, oh my God, somebody passed away. Like, what does that mean? Why is this person not here anymore? Or they called me this name. Or they said my shoes weren't nice. They said they're ugly and old. So we get all of these things, and I'm talking, and that's just somebody could have touched. You see what I'm saying? So we have these things that happen. And they corrupt our innocence. And we start looking, so we try to cope and deal with this place that now is unsafe, right? And how do we do that? We stay to ourselves. We lash out in anger. We hide ourselves. We don't talk to these people. We stay like this. We pick up vices to cope. And so now we become adults. We're still the little kid. But now we're so far along into this trauma, and then other traumas happen, breakups happen, divorces happen, other abuse happens. And so who are we? Who are we at this point? Right? So if that is just normal, when you're talking about healing from that and looking at yourself in the mirror, you cannot look at yourself in the mirror and be aggressive and say, get yourself together because you suck. No, you have never sucked. This whole time, you have not sucked. You have literally been traumatized because you are made of love. You are made from love. You are made from goodness. And when you keep seeing stuff that's not good, it makes you think something's wrong with me. And now that's the coping stuff.
Yeah. Not only that, like if a bad event happened to you while you were 4, if it happened to you while you were 3, that's 25% of your life at 1 year. So that's why, like, old memories, it almost starts a setting for your perspective on life.
Exactly.
And if that perspective started with pain or mistrust, then you will grow up to say, I don't trust this world. I don't feel safe in this world. I don't feel, just on the first 4 years. And a lot of people take it for granted. You're like, well, that was 35 years ago. You're fine now. Like, shouldn't you forget?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Your brain has been trained in that. And that's what we don't understand. Like, even our parents, our relationships with our parents, like, if you made a picture in kindergarten and you took it to your mom and your mom was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. But I have an argument here. The new generation, I'm not a parent, I'm just saying I'm parenting through other parents.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing, like, there is this, now we know how to do a better job than our parents. I always say this, I say, like, if you're not a parent, the second-hand information about parenting that you know right now is 10 times what your father knew. when they were a parent, because just what's on TikTok
Yeah, right.
is enough to give you enough information. So I would see this couple who are really good with their kids, and the kid came one day, and she was like, "Mom, look, 8. Mom, 8." If that happened in my family or culture, it would be, "Dad, look, 8." He's like, "No, you idiot, that's 7. Count your hands again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 7. Okay." So the parents knew that they shouldn't talk to their kid that way. So they were like, "Honey, actually, can you take a look at them and count them again?" And then the kid looked, and as soon as she discovered that they were not the right number, her world broke apart.
Yeah.
Even though the method of delivering the information was very gentle, there is an underestimation of the first time a human feels disappointed.
Yes.
Or the first time a human feels like an idiot. The embarrassment of, it's not about how severe it is. It's just, this is the first time I felt that feeling.
Yeah.
And if it happens at that young age, then that becomes a trauma.
Yeah.
Where my mom told me very gently that I'm counting wrong.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it's inescapable.
It is.
Okay. Which brings me to the next point.
Yeah.
Is that at a certain point, at 25 years old, you realize that you need to change what you were doing. We're not going to judge where it came from. We understand that's the circumstances, everything. But now comes the moment of change. And change is almost impossible. It feels so hard.
It feels
every
very
single
hard.
time. It feels so easy to go. Like I'm now, I used to always have the negative voice, but now I have a negative voice and a positive voice.
Yes.
Side by side, making me do nothing. So how do you follow through?
So the follow through for me, it really started just with discipline. Honestly, like I had the revelation of, okay, how are you gonna help anybody if you won't even look at yourself in the mirror? So then I couldn't deny that. It made sense, right? I was like, okay, that's logical. I got to do it. So I went to the mirror, and over the course of about 6 months, I would do quick glances. I started with quick glances. It's like, okay, I got to look at this thing. And that was enough for the day. Like, okay, the next day, all right, have my bath towel around me, and it's just like, that's enough. And this is just this part of my scar. Not even this part, which I hated this part because I was like, it's bumpier. It's, because it's a keloid. Like my scar, my skin is just, it gets keloids, right? And so that's what it is. And it's just like, but it was just, I had to look. And over time, it was a quick glance. Then it was a little more of a linger. And then it was a little tiny bit more of a linger. And then eventually I was able to be okay with it, and I was able to explore it. And so I think this is what I would say to someone, whether they have a physical scar or a physical thing they don't like, or is an emotional scar, is that, of course, you're in a day. No, you're not going to be like, I was sexually assaulted or something, and I'm going to go ahead and dive into it today, and then tomorrow I'm good. No, that's not how it works. The fact is that you, in order to survive, you had to suppress it. You had to avoid the mirror. That is really what avoiding the mirror is when you don't have a physical scar, is you suppress it. You don't think about it. You do other things. You smoke, you drink, you do whatever, shop, whatever to cope, right? So now you have to say, all right, this happened to me. This is what I experienced. And I have to look at it.
I'm with you until it comes like, okay, I know exactly why I should be doing this. I know exactly why I need to change. I know exactly it's going to be painful, but it's like, it takes a lot of work to almost reignite the epiphany
Yeah.
every single day, because it's so fleeting.
Yeah.
How it's like I had one epiphany last week, and it like the moment I had the epiphany, the next 4 days were just trying so hard to hold on to the epiphany before it fades away, and I go back to my old ways,
Yeah.
which are comfortable. I know how to do them without thinking, all of these things. But it's like I'm trying to meditate more, for example. I die every morning to go do it. Like, it's so hard to get up and go just shut up for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the struggle a lot of times is where I quit. And I'm wondering, does it take you effort to reignite the epiphany, or it was just one epiphany and a very strong march forward from there?
If I'm speaking directly just about my experience with my scars, because of course, I think throughout your life, it's not just one thing you're trying to get over or get through or get past, right? But if I'm talking about that, I think what it kind of boiled down to me with me was just like, okay, I have a greater purpose outside of just feeling bad all the time. Like, it got to the point where I remember one time, and this is my friend, she had known me since I was like 14. She has always seen me tugging on my shirts, pulling this over, making sure not even the tip of my scar shows. One day, out of nowhere, that same year, 25, she's like, why do you keep doing that? She had never said this before. And I was just like, oh, you know the answer. Why are you asking me? I didn't say that to her, but in my mind, I'm like, you know why I'm doing this. And it really was, she was just saying, like, you don't have to keep doing this. And I honestly feel like, in retrospect, I feel like life, we get tired of our own stuff sometimes. We get tired of our own BS sometimes. We do. And we're looking for a way out of it. And then it's like the world starts to transpire to give us exactly what we want. And we have to ride that wave. And it's when it starts to get hard, that's when you probably know that you need and desire a breakthrough. So really, it's you igniting this within yourself because you're tired of living that way. And so if you're talking about meditation, then my question is, why are you meditating? What is the point? Because nobody wants to sit there for 20 minutes and not think or focus on not thinking or whatever that is. So what is, you know what I'm saying? You have to get your why.
That problem is when I know the why so much, but it's still like it's almost you're fighting against your body, it's used to a certain amount of emotions, and you're now like, no, we're gonna change everything. We're gonna do the good things that's gonna make us feel better, and the resistance is not like it's almost I have to trick myself. Because I know everything logically, why I need to change. But then once it comes time to actually do the change, it almost like, oh no, yeah, that was great, all of what you said, but we're not going to do that. Yeah, great. You can go meditate and sleep early and eat healthy. Yeah, good luck, man. But really, like, the body wants to stay miserable. I love the misery. Your body knows how to do it. Yeah. And like, it's almost funny how all of that knowledge would disappear.
I'm actually glad. It's so interesting. I was like, okay, I had this revelation today because I started thinking about working out and really, I had started being consistent, and then you kind of, start to waver in that, right? And so I started thinking about, okay, how can I personally, I started looking up and Googling stuff like, okay, how do I stay motivated, or how do I, whatever. And then I just started thinking, I was like, wait a minute, what if I just think about gratitude? And what I meant by that is, it is a privilege for me to be able to work out, because there are some people that cannot move their bodies at all. There are people who literally cannot do it. There are people who cannot take care of themselves. And
some of those people are you in the future.
if you don't do it
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to take good care of myself. And I'm over here like complaining about, oh, I don't feel like waking up early, or I don't, you know what I'm saying? I have the privilege to have a bed to sleep in. Why am I not getting in this bed on time so that I feel good about waking up early in the morning?
It's as simple as that's really the crux of my issues is that
Yeah.
I know what's right to do.
Yes.
But a lot of times it's not easy to follow. It's not easy to peel yourself
Yeah.
from, even if you're doing something dumb in front of the computer. It's like, I just want to go to sleep right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go brush my teeth and floss and do the mouthwash and just another half an hour.
Yeah.
And it's human, I would
It
say.
is. It's very normal. I think that it's just, I think if you go back to gratitude and looking at it as a privilege and start looking at certain things as you're in your life, like some people don't have a minute to sit down and meditate.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the cognitive ability to sit down and meditate. Some people are scared because their household is so tense that if they close their eyes, who knows what is going to happen.
Okay, I call this there is hungry kids in Africa method of finish your plate because someone else can finish it, which is great. But it almost feels like work. Like I'm suppressing. Like here is another thing. I'm very grateful to have a job. I'm very grateful that Uber really is paying my rent.
Yeah.
I hate this job so bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
It almost feels that I can't express that I'm frustrated, that I don't want to drive to Santa Monica right now.
Now that I get what you're saying. I don't think that we have to suppress it. I think that we should still get to the things that we desire to do. I think we should live our passions. We should do the things that we absolutely love to do. If you don't like driving Uber, I don't think you should be like, I love this so much. And you know what I'm saying? Like, be grateful that it's doing what it needs to do while you are focusing your energy on creating the life and the lifestyle that you desire. Because your mindset, like, okay, well, say for instance, you're like, okay, I really want to be touring and I want to make money through comedy, like all of my money. I want comedy to replace the income I'm making with Uber. Then you get that into your mindset and you start focusing in on that. And then it's like opportunities will start to come. But if you're so focused on, here's my thing, is that if your energy is so focused in on how much you hate a thing and how much you're annoyed by a thing, that's taking your energy, and then it perpetuates itself, right? Because that's where what do they say? Energy go. What is it?
Thoughts create your reality.
So that aspect, but the idea of that, whatever you focus on is going to grow and develop.
Yeah.
And so if you focus in on, if you're just grateful for this moment, like, hey, it's taking care of what it needs to take care of, how can I then focus my energy on what I really want?
Yeah. It turned me into a psychopath because I'm like, I hate this, but I love it so much. I'm grateful for it, thank God, but life sucks.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm holding these two feelings at almost at the same time that it's making me feel like I'm about to explode.
Yes.
Like, well, yes, we know this job sucks. We know that you have every right and excuse to feel frustrated, and thank God you are grateful. So it just ends up like, okay, I've balanced everything out, and I still have to get in my car right now and go drive.
I get it. Okay, this happened to me. Real true story. I was reading a book at the time called Ask and It Is Given. And one of the exercises in the book was, in the midst of the frustration, just focus on what you would like to create, right? And so this is what was happening. So I was driving my car, not the car that I have now, but another car. I was driving my car, and what I noticed is that when I'm driving, the gear would slip out of the gear for some reason.
Unshift.
Yeah, the shift, like, it wasn't, and it was dangerous because it's like, okay, I'm driving and this happens and it can slow, like, it was just very dangerous. And every time I took it to the mechanic, it wouldn't do it. Right? I was like, dag nabbit, like, come on. And so they couldn't fix it. So I'm on my way to work. And at this time I was living in Inglewood, driving to Burbank. Yeah. So I'm on my way one day, and right underneath, it was an overpass in Hollywood on Cahuenga. The gear is started to slip. And because I was reading the book, I said, you know what? I'm not going to be frustrated in this moment at the current car. I'm just going to think about what it's going to feel like to be in a car that doesn't do this. Like, the new car that doesn't do that, it's going to be so nice. So it did it, like, oh, it's going to be so nice. Oh, yeah, it's going to be nice. And I did this. Kid you not. Within 5 minutes, a pickup truck comes. It was headed southbound. I'm headed northbound, right underneath that overpass on Cahuenga, and it comes right in front of my car. Bam. Bam. Here's the beautiful part about this. Nobody was injured. I wasn't really hurt. He had insurance. It was 100% his fault. I got a new car within 30 days.
Wow. I had an accident a year ago. I still did not get paid for a year. And
wow.
You wonder, it has to do something with my energy.
Yeah.
The way I was like, well, this needs to happen now. Where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money?
And so that's the thing. That's anxious. Like, now you're anxious and it's going to happen. And there's still a flow, right? We are so powerful. We are very powerful. That's why we have to watch the way we think and what we say, because we're so powerful. So I really encourage you, anyone, it's like, all right, you want a new thing. Let's get this new thing with grace and ease. I wanted a new car, but like, because I was reading that book, it just made me mindful of how I was thinking about it and how good it feels to be in this new car. And I had already been seeing, I'm like, oh yeah. And I think I like that car. And it's the car that I have now that I was looking at, and I was like, oh, I like it, you know? And so it's just one of those things where it's just like, you have to think about how you're thinking about it.
Okay. That's a very good segue into my question. Your thoughts create your reality, but your thoughts are like a cloud. Let every cloud pass by. You're not the sky. You're the sky. You're not the clouds. Have you heard that before?
When you're talking about like meditation and stuff?
No, in general. Like when you have, your thoughts create your reality, then a bad thought will come.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to ignore it. You're supposed to just like, okay, great, bye.
Yeah.
But because your thoughts create reality, then let me hyper-focus on that thought, even though it's not a positive thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what is it? Your thoughts create your reality, or your thoughts are like a cloud? You can ignore the cloud and just go back.
Well, I think both apply. Like, because here's my thing. It's like, if I think about an elephant, is the elephant going to just appear in the room right away? No. If it passes through, it passes through. But I think there's still the emotion you need to connect to that thought. And that's why when you're thinking about something a whole lot, thinking about something that you don't have a lot, And because that's where the passion comes in. I don't have, you know what I'm saying?
No, I know.
And you
No,
have
exactly.
that energy, right?
Yeah.
You have that energy, and it's like, okay, now that's creative because it's the two things that you're connecting. You're connecting the thought and the emotion.
So you're saying if I got really angry about my future, it's gonna work?
Angry about your future.
Like really, if I really like ruminate really hard about like everything is gonna work out, I'm gonna
Well,
have money.
I don't know if you should be angry when you're like thinking
I want to
about your
use this.
future,
I've been
but-
using that energy
Yeah.
in the wrong way my entire life.
See, yeah, maybe not anger. Maybe here's what I would say. It's just like, what are the things that you desire? You think about that, right?
Financial stability.
Okay, so if you think about financial stability, what does financial stability feel like to you?
The lack of anxiety about where's my
So
next
you
money
just
coming
started
from.
with lack.
Yeah.
Let's think about it as in, let's think about it from an abundant standpoint, right? So financial stability feels like freedom. It feels like peace. It feels like security and joy and fun. It feels like, oh man, I get to do whatever I want to do. Like this level of autonomy and like getting yourself into a space where it's like, it feels like this instead of, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, this week has been me like almost going on a tour telling everyone that, oh my God, the talk about your thoughts create your reality that I've rejected my entire life because it's not scientific is actually very scientific.
It is.
And like with that, there is, I noticed because of meditation, of course, once I get into like, well, fuck you, why did you do what you just did? I can feel my like breath is shorter.
Yep.
My heart is like, up, yep, we're ready to go.
Yep.
And I've been always my entire life very easy to startle.
Yeah.
And I would always say now, it's because of this, because I'm in fight or flight mode.
All the time.
And if somebody said, bim, I'm like, okay, let's go. We're
Yep.
ready. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
It might be because it's new to me. I'm like trying to, like, well, instead of thinking positively, maybe I can think about positive things negatively
You are
and
hilarious.
trigger
You are
trigger
hilarious.
that power.
Okay. First of all, let me just say this. From the first conversation we had at the coffee shop, look what you've created for yourself. I think you have to give yourself credit. I think you have to, sometimes we can get so focused on shifting and changing and being all these things that we desire to be that we ignore what we've already created and how amazing and beautiful it is. You're here talking to me about meditation. Hello? Hello. That is not the conversation we had at that coffee shop. You are how far from that? And look where you are. So I need you to stop. I need you to give yourself some credit. I need you to look at yourself and say, look, you have come a long way and I am proud of you.
I'm better at that now,
Good.
but I know very well
Okay.
that one of my 32 people who are watching this have also been in the same
Yeah.
where it seems impossible, like it
Yeah.
seems icky
Yeah.
to do. I one of the quotes that I have on my microwave this like lately is, you've already accomplished things that you said were gonna make you happy. Because that's that when I heard this the first time, I was like, oh no, I did not accomplish anything that I thought I was gonna make me happy. And I talked here about like, oh, well, only if I move to Egypt, only if I lose weight, only if I go to the US, well, only if I do comedy. And well, yeah, where?
And you're here. You've done it. All the things you just said.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that we forget that we literally are co-creating our experiences every day. And sometimes that's where the gratitude comes in. It's like, yo, I did this. And then also look at it. It's like, I'm powerful. Look what I just created. So when you're wanting to create something else, sometimes it's good to just be like, "Well, I have a track record for creating the stuff that I really desire, so I'm gonna get this." And it's like, hey, it feels like it, and it doesn't always have to feel like a grind. Maybe that's really what it is. It doesn't have to feel so painful. If you already know that you've already created the things that you just said, the weight loss, the moving to the States, the doing the comedy, the podcast, you've already created that stuff. Why are you so, and not just you, I'm talking about people in general. Why are we so hard on ourselves about creating the next thing? It's like we go back into panic mode. Like, oh God, I have to create the stuff again. We literally create so naturally without even thinking about it.
And funny enough, that's what feeds the imposter syndrome in general. Because you don't know, you in the back of your head, you kind of think that this all happened by luck.
Yep.
Or I just lucked into things. But so once you really luck into the thing that was your dream, you're like, I don't know how I got here. Yeah. I'm not, and I've seen like people with various levels of success.
We got to stop that. It is, and I do that too. But no, absolutely not. Stop.
But that's really important. It's to hear, a lot of times people would hear someone like you, like they talk about overcoming something, and they almost fail to realize that you're still not perfect. Like you're still not, you have not conquered that problem that still comes and goes.
Yes. I mean, when I say I coach myself on a daily about things, and I'm not opposed. And I talk to other people. I'm not opposed to if I feel like, okay, I want to go and talk to somebody and get some therapy about a certain thing or whatever. To me, wise counsel is wise counsel. And sometimes it's good to have someone that sees you from afar, because we can't always see ourselves up close because we're too close. And so this is me talking to you directly, if you don't mind.
Of course.
You are doing an incredible job. You really are.
Thank you.
You reached out to me to be on your podcast because you created a podcast in this beautiful studio we're in right now. You created this. It was a co-creative experience. You asked for it and you got it. There is nothing that you cannot get. And you don't have to, how was it hard to get me here? I don't think it was that. It might have been a little hard because I asked questions, okay? I do ask questions.
You had experience of getting
because I'll be like, let me see. Is like, you really you?
I need to see you on camera
I did, because I have some shenanigans. But outside of that, I guess what I'm really trying to say is that your limbs work, your heart is beating, you are able to breathe with ease and grace. It just happens. And everything that you desired, this, even though it seemed like a grind maybe to get all the stuff together, sometimes it's our perception of how we can get things to work for our good. That is really the issue. For instance, I am the one who thought my scars were the things was going to keep me and hold me back from having whatever the things that I desired. I thought that was what it was. But no, it was my perception of my scars and how people would react to them.
The belief you had.
My belief about my scars. It was not anybody else's. The world did not say, I mean, even though the world, as in like little kids, what's that? What's going on? Blah, 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 whatever. But it was literally my belief. And I will tell this a quick thing. The first time I showed my scars in public was I was at a barbecue, and I it was for a church choir. Okay. We had a barbecue and a pool party. I had on a bathing suit, a 2-piece bathing suit without a shirt for the first time, without a t-shirt over it. I thought everybody in there was going to be like, oh my God, what happened to you, girl? Oh my God.
And
I really thought that
in your direction and you saw their eye level, look here.
Like I mean, I just thought it was going to be a ton of questions and pointing and looking and staring, because that's what happened when I was in ballet class at 3 years old. But that's not what happened. People thought I walked in there and I looked confident. I was like, are you kidding me? So we have no idea how people perceive us. It is about how we perceive ourselves. I perceive you to be disciplined? Because you just talked about editing your podcast. Do you think, when I think about the possibilities of having to edit a podcast, I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do this. So what I'm saying is that I encourage you to affirm yourself. Get in that mirror and speak life to yourself about whatever aspects of yourself that you don't think that you can do or can have. I had to tell myself I was beautiful. I literally had to do that. People were like, oh, but you're pretty, Audra, blah, blah, blah. And it would go right over my head. So I literally did it 2 times a day, morning when I brush my teeth and at night when I brush my teeth. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. And I did that from October to December. I went to Detroit to visit a friend and hang out. And he was like, somehow you're more beautiful.
Wow.
He had no idea I did that. It is your belief about yourself at the end of the day.
100%. The beautiful Audra Bryant. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. That's a perfect ending, and I think we're perfectly at the end of time.
Yeah.
My podcast does not have a signature ending, so we just end abruptly. Podcast ends.